Hello, welcome to lucky number 13, episodes Subspace Transmissions, a podcast, a sub-podcast of We Were Gamers.
Hello.
That's JJ. I'm Andy. We talk about Star Trek on Fridays. JJ, what's a Zahian?
I don't know that I know. Honestly. I don't think I learned.
We finished season 1 of Discovery. That was about 5 episodes of this show, I think, of us discovering Discovery and whether or not we liked it or not, based on the, I would say, mixed reviews of that first season.
Yeah. I think I ended up liking it. But I definitely agree that the first maybe half or so takes some getting used to.
I think that I like most of the characters they've created. I'm a little iffy on how well we're going to fit into the previous universe of Star Trek.
Definitely that.
Including what we're going to talk about today, where they just throw the book out the window.
Yeah, I got some questions.
They did this special thing for CBS called Short Treks, which is a good idea, I think, in using resources, right? Like, create content without much cost with things you already have. So they made these 15 to 20 minute episodes of Star Trek Discovery that fit outside the main story's timeline.
Right. And they are, like, in some cases they're like backstory, some cases they're like side story, some cases they're like just here's a fun character and we wanted to do a thing with them. And then in some cases, I don't understand where or how or what it's intended to be.
Yep. So we're here to talk about the first 4, aka the ones from season 1, not
right,
the newer ones.
They came out shortly before the start of season 2 on CBS All Access.
They were like a lead up, and now they're doing the season 2 ones as kind of a buffer between Discovery and Picard.
Right, and I believe Discovery is slated to come back sometime next year for season 3.
I imagine post Picard, because Picard is January.
Okay. So, I believe season 2 was January this past year. So
my estimation is that going forward, CBS will have at all times Star Trek running.
That seems like something they're going to try and do, right?
As a weekly release, much like Disney is trying to do. They're trying to keep you subscribed for your $6 or $10 a month, and so they'll drop an episode of Star Trek every. I assume they know the metrics say that everyone that is subscribed is watching Star Trek.
Maybe that's certainly the only reason you or I are subscribed. So
yep.
All right. So do we want to do these in chronological order or
let's just
interest, or because they don't really have any like connection to each other or anything.
Let's just go start to finish, and then we'll talk about them as a whole at the end, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The first one is an episode about Sylvia Tilly. She is degraded by her mother, which we got a hint of in the show.
Titled Runaway.
Oh, Runaway, correct. If you wrote down the titles, shout them out, because I did not.
I did.
Awesome. Runaway, because there's a separate character in here, but something they seemed to do in these was limit the character scope, except for one of them. Tilly doesn't get along with her mom. Her mom basically puts her down and says she shouldn't do the command thing, which we got in the show, show. We knew that was true. So she goes and drinks a quadruple espresso.
Yep.
Which the computer tells her is not a wise choice.
And the computer's like, this is an unsafe level of caffeine. She's like, shut up, computer!
I appreciated that. That was a good idea.
It was pretty good.
And then she meets the Runaway, who is an invisible alien bleeding all over the ship because she cut herself on a box in the cargo bay.
Yeah, she had stowed away on cargo or something.
Correct, yeah, it seems like. And you would think that the Discovery would have scanned boxes for stowaways after their run-in with the stowaway tardigrade.
But maybe it was a shielded box.
Fair. Just to be fair. They have a scuffle. She likes ice cream. The universal translator kicks in, and the hissing becomes she's actually some sort of genius. The Zahian princess.
The note that I took is Tilly does some first contact stuff.
Yeah. Her name is Poe, right?
I did not get her name.
Okay, her name. The Zahian's name is Poe.
Okay, got it.
Right.
And then Tilly agrees for whatever reason to hide the kid in her room.
Yep. Not report her like she should.
Don't understand. And then they have like, some interesting discussions, and
they both hate their mothers or something.
Right. Yeah, they're having a bad life. The girl doesn't want to become a princess, I guess.
She is a princess. We find out at the very end of this episode that she's actually not a princess anymore, that her brother has died, and she technically has run away because she doesn't want to be the queen.
Right. Yeah, that's the, I don't know, twist or whatever at the end.
Okay. There's no stake in this, right? Because she's not a character that was on the show. Yeah. Tilly's not going to get in trouble for anything. So it's like, okay.
My notes are, I have basically two notes, one about the first contact stuff, one about the kid, and it's like, the end? And it's like, yes.
Oh,
and so basically,
you don't have a big note about the one thing in here that I know that you and I are going to be like, wait, what? What is a dilithium incubator, JJ?
I don't know, Andrew. I don't know that they know.
I would sure love to know, given the second episode of this where, no, thank you, Windows. Don't do that. Why? If you saw my tweet and Instagram before we started this, you'll understand. Man, I gotta turn that stuff off. Anyway, where was I? Dilithium incubators.
You posted because I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, we Windows was doing updates before we started, and now it's telling me about all the updates with loud noises while we record. Thank you. If you have the power to remove dilithium mining from being a thing, how have we not heard about this? It's much like the spore drive, right?
Yeah, wait, hold on. I thought she said that they mine dilithium.
They do mine dilithium. Planet. She created, and why she ran away was that she created something called a dilithium incubator.
Oh, right. Okay, that was the technology she invented or whatever.
Right, so that no one would have to mine dilithium anymore because it was hurting her sister, which is the planet.
Right. Okay, I forgot that her sister was the planet part.
So she could re-energize broken dilithium crystals or whatever.
Here is why we never heard about this. She went back to her planet and then was immediately assassinated.
Big Cole got her.
Look, dilithium interests are strong in the Federation. And they have a vested interest in keeping those mines running.
Yep.
Capitalism wins again. Even though
I have questions about capitalism after we get to the Harry Mudd episode.
Even though in theory capitalism isn't a thing and money isn't a thing in the Federation, which is not apparently true.
Is that not apparent? That's not true anymore. They've rewritten that one. That's one of those. Yeah, we'll get there. All right.
Yeah.
I think this was cute, but at the end of it, okay.
It was like, this is a fun short, but ultimately, like you say, kind of actually like all of these, to be honest, ultimately immaterial.
I think the Saru one is something we're going to talk about for a while.
Okay.
But we'll get there.
Well, when we get there, yeah.
The next one was titled
Calypso.
That makes a lot of sense. Calypso, JJ, you remember your Greek, is the goddess that traps Odysseus, I believe. Wants to have a baby with them. Then Zeus tells Hermes to tell Calypso that she's got to let Odysseus go because his fate is not to die on the island with her. And she says, okay.
Is it the same one that's turning people into pigs?
I don't know if Calypso turns people into pigs.
Like she turns all his crew into animals or something?
Oh, maybe.
I just remember the same one, or is this a different one? He goes on several adventures with weird gods and goddesses that have powers.
Are you thinking maybe Cersei's the one?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of
turns
Cersei.
people into stuff.
Yeah,
I think
right.
Calypso's the one where he gets shipwrecked. Not by the ones that make him go on the rocks or whatever, the sirens. But anyway.
Right, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Calypso.
Calypso. So the Discovery is, by the way, they did some beautiful CG on these for 15-minute episodes. This one was very pretty.
Yeah, a lot of like really great space shots in this one in particular.
Yeah. A crashed survival pod of some kind, broken, with Betty Boop playing in it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I wrote like, why are there weird old cartoons going across this weird pod?
Yeah, this one has some like weird world building going on that clashes with some other stuff from the future. But that's a spoiler. It's the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1,000 years.
So
past something.
Right, 1,000 years. We don't know when or where this is. Also, we don't know, and we don't learn where the crew is.
Yes, the ship is empty. The Discovery,
but everything seems to be working, kind of mostly.
The Discovery is in a hold position order. That was the last order the ship was given.
And there's like a weird computer AI now on the ship, which didn't.
I think the implication is that either they installed it or the ship became sentient.
Oh, I was going to say the ship becoming sentient is the implication, but I don't remember that voice or any of that existing before.
No, not in what we've seen so far.
Okay, just making sure I'm not like forgetting something.
My question is roughly whether like this is a predecessor to the later computer which answers people, like in TNG and stuff.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then because it sat there for 1,000 years, it became sentient.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a reading. I like that better than the like they installed this system and then left. I want to say that at the start of this, like for the first little while, I thought like, oh, this is interesting. They're doing like different genres almost. The first one was like, oh, this like kind of little, meet cute kind of fun story about bonding about parents and destiny and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this one is like a horror kind of like thriller type thing, and then it turns out not to be that.
Nope.
But I was like very excited. It's like, oh, cool, they're doing like different genres, but Star Trek. Because like at the beginning, it starts pretty scary, and like I was like, oh, okay, like they're trying to do like a horror thing. This is
dark
very
hallways
cool.
And computer that he doesn't. You don't realize it's the computer. You think it's some person.
Right. It's like, where are you leading me? All that stuff. And then it is like, oh no, just kidding. Actually, it's like
the ship is just empty. They're gonna.
Yeah. There's no second twist, right?
Yeah.
And the computer is obsessed with old movies.
I think the computer implies she has the whole library and has at some point watched. She's been there 1,000 years and has fallen for one movie.
I didn't get the name of this movie. Is this a real movie?
Yes. Gosh, I didn't write it down, of course.
Because it's what's his name? The famous old singing and dancing guy. Oh my god, my brain.
Ooh. Are you gonna get it?
No. Bob Hope? No.
Come on, man. It's Fred Astaire.
Fred Astaire.
There you go. The musical is called Funny Face.
Funny Face, yes.
I was trying to remember the nickname because she nicknames him the movie, which is Funny Face. But it's Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn.
Yes. They were... I immediately knew him, and then I was like, she is someone famous in old movies also. And then it was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. The computer's name is Zora. I forgot that.
Yes, Zora.
And his name is Kraft.
Yes. Or that's what she names him.
He says his name is like, I don't know, it's like Danger or something. I don't remember. It was something silly.
He doesn't give her his name, right?
Well, that's that's kind of part of the story too, right? Like he says people call him this, and then she says, "Well, what's your name?" He said, "Well, my friends call me Craft," and she calls him Crafty for a while.
Right, yeah.
And then you find that in the future here, they do some pretty interesting world building. Humanity seems to be maybe at war with itself, or what used to be the Federation has broken apart and is fighting.
Or that, like, wherever this guy is from, his planet is at war with other human planets or something?
Yeah, something weird happened in the future, which, based on TNG and Enterprise...
1,000 years, yeah, I mean, 1,000 years from the time of Discovery, wouldn't that be in around the TNG-ish time frame?
No.
Is that, no? Too far?
Way further.
How far before TNG is Discovery? Like 100 years?
I have my bookmarked timeline. Hold on.
I thought it was farther than that.
TNG is maybe 100 years from now.
100 years from Discovery. Or the season 1 timeline.
So
Discovery.
Discovery is 2255, which we've discussed before.
Yes. Next
Gen is 100 years later, 2364.
Okay, so 1,000 is quite a bit past all of that.
1,000 is like Enterprise Y or whatever that we see. The big Enterprise that's the size of like a planet. Which I think you see and I can't remember which show you see it in. But there's no implication in the future stuff from Enterprise that, the guy that comes back in time and does that whole show.
Mm-hmm.
Timeline with the Time War and all that.
Isn't that... Oh, that's Voyager.
No. The Time War is from Enterprise.
Oh, Enterprise. Sorry. Yes, Enterprise. Okay.
Yeah, but he's from way in the future, and there's no implication of the Federation having broken up or anything. So they chose a large number to give themselves a lot of room. And I mean,
who knows
fall.
what part of space it is also, what's going on out
She
here.
identifies him based on his tattoo. This is an interesting one. There's a lot of world building in this one for something so flippant at the end of it.
The computers just have like omnipotent databases of all knowledge somehow, always. So like it doesn't surprise me that the computer knows where this dude is from, even though it's been 1,000 years, right?
Yeah. It's just an interesting side note, I think, for the whole episode is like, wow, there's some weird like future world building here. Maybe that they're thinking about doing a show that far in the future or something.
Yeah.
He's lost his family. He's from his family. They eventually become friends. Then he realizes he can't stay there. The computer lets him go. Yes?
I was like, he hold on, bro. You didn't talk about him doing the creepy dance with the computer.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Come on, man. That's the thing.
Okay, you talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. It's weird.
It is weird. Because the computer has been nice to him, I guess, he decides to do something nice for the computer because no one had ever done anything nice for the computer somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's been alone for a long time, I guess.
Yeah. It's also still a computer. I don't know. And so then he dresses up as Fred Astaire from the movie and learns the dance that he does. And then the computer decides to project herself into the scene with him so that they can do a creepy dance.
Yeah, it was touching when he tells her to hold, and then she follows the order, but the projection cries or something.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then she lets him go.
Janeway fell in love with a holodeck program. So
Yeah, I know. It's definitely some of that going on here at the end for sure. I don't know. The world building and the really beautiful CGI and stuff was the most interesting part of this one.
Absolutely.
Although also the hologram effects of projecting the movie out into that 3D area was really cool. And I think actually I want a movie. I want movies to be like that.
Right. They're taking. That was a very cool effect. I think that this one wins on CG alone as one of my favorite ones, maybe my favorite one, because that effect of saying, okay, look, she doesn't make it fully 3D.
But it's almost like she transforms it from a flat movie to like a stage play.
It reminded me of a pop-up book.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Because the projector kind of follows the floor into the wall, right? So the grass and the wall kind of like are the projector screen, and then the characters are sort of like popped up.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was a cool effect.
Like, it made it, it made like the ground and the back wall into like the stage, and then the actors kind of pop out of the screen onto the, it's very cool. I wish movies were like this now.
It's cool. She pops him into the 1,000-year-old shuttle, which she thinks will work, and paints it with the name Funny Face, which you find out he doesn't have a name, or he can't tell her his name because in his culture, you're only named by the person that loves you or something. I don't.
Yeah, the person that you're in love with gives you your name, your true name or something.
But he has a wife and kids, so I don't understand how he doesn't have a true name. But whatever. Okay, moving on.
The next episode is called The Brightest Star.
Here we go, buddy.
And then I wrote, Oh Boy, Saru episode.
I tried to keep an open mind the whole time. And I did.
How long did that last?
Until Saru built a transponder out of parts of a ship that fell off. How did he get a screen? And he drew up plans.
Does he know how to read?
He guess he can read, and built a universal translator into the transponder at the same time.
Hold on, we got to back up.
You asked me when I lost my open mind, but here we go. Let's start over.
So Saru's family?
Yes, it's his father and sister.
Okay. Are part of... I couldn't tell if it was some kind of weird cult, or this is how all of the people of their planet are raised.
It seems like his father is a religious leader in the Kelpian society. It didn't seem like it was a cult.
Okay. And the way it seems to work on this planet is everyone is, like a agrarian level of civilization, right?
Every one of the Kelpians on this planet is agrarian, yes.
Yes. Not clear to me if there are other civilizations on the planet, or if those other civilizations live off planet.
No. The Ba'ul are on their planet. They share their... He has talked about this in the main show. They share their planet with the Ba'ul. They're the only two species on the planet.
Got it. Okay.
The Kelpians eat the seaweed. The Ba'ul eat the Kelpians.
Right. And so you see basically the Kelpians, live this kind of like agrarian existence until the summoning or whatever they called it.
It's called Harvest?
Yes, and they basically all go stand around a pillar and pray, and then a bunch of them disappear.
It seems like they reach a point in their lives, I think Saru called it the Kahari, and then they have to turn themselves over.
It sounded like, though, the way the father, the religious figure, talked about it is that, eventually, not everyone would always be taken, but at some point, everyone would be taken, right? It's not the same time for everyone.
Right.
It's just at some point, you will be taken, whether that's when you're 99, like the father who seemed to be very old, or some of the other people who seemed very young.
Yeah.
Or, middle-aged, I guess.
Whatever this Kahari thing is, I don't know, but that's what he was saying. If I reach Kahari by the next harvest, what would happen? And I think he was testing. It seemed like he was testing his father to see, if the father was like, well, you're my son, so no, don't worry about it. Or he says, well, then you got to go in the thing.
I distinctly got the impression that despite what the father's answer to that question was, that he would not have been chosen.
Interesting. Okay.
It just seemed, it's the way those kinds of religious figures working with I don't
know. His father was very upset about this great balance thing.
Of course, right? Because the great balance thing is the thing that gives the father his power as a religious figure. So it's important that he maintain the system and it work as, anyway, I got a lot of like almost kind of like Schindler's Listian vibes here.
Very much things are fated on this planet, and this drives Saru to not accept how he lives, right?
Right.
He said he got his answer, and the answer was, don't ask questions. How can no one want to ask questions? Why can't we live like the Baul?
Right. And apparently pieces of these Baul ships fall down sometimes, and his father tells him to go dispose of it in the... I forget where he told him to take it.
I think he just said dispose of it.
Yeah, and Saru's like, yeah, sure, Dad. Tucks it away. Definitely does not dispose of it.
Then somehow takes it apart one time.
And Saru then somehow uses whatever this thing is and builds a communication beacon out of it. Okay.
I get... Based on the end of this episode, I get it, but I also am like, could we have done something other than him creating a computer and universal translator could he have
he didn't create the translator though, right?
Well, it just says hello, right? And he understands when it says today what it means. So he somehow...
Yeah, but I interpreted that as it displaying it in Kelpian.
Oh, okay. I get you.
And so he was able to read it because it was in his
That
language.
would make some sense, right? He transmitted in Kelpian I didn't think about that.
Because he speaks into the thing and says like...
Right. Okay. I'm willing to let that part slide. That makes a lot of sense. He definitely
doesn't invent a translator because later when Giorgio comes, which spoiler alert, Giorgio shows up, she's holding out the...
I love that part of this show.
The communicator.
I love that part of Discovery.
As the translator.
So good. Okay. I just would maybe have been happier if it was just like a pulsing beacon or something. Something.
Yeah. I think I wish that they had taken a little time here to show that it wasn't just this one thing that he disassembled and reassembled into a thing.
It took months of him
took
building.
Years of him scurrying pieces away to build a thing or whatever. That would have made me feel a little better about it.
Let's rewrite it. That's what happened.
I agree with you. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So then he
wanders out from the village. I think he was testing his sister to see if she would go with him.
Right. Yeah.
She would not.
Clearly. And she was not willing to take the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so Saru is like a runaway, kind of?
Yeah, so here Giorgio lands with a Shinjo shuttle. It's Lieutenant Giorgio, by the way.
Right, so this is clearly a decent distance in the past, because when, by the time we meet her in Discovery, she's been captain for what seems like a while.
And we find out that Saru is the only, and probably forever-ish, the only Kelpian in Starfleet.
And you get so the thing that I had been waiting for, right? She's like, yeah, it's not very often we get signals from pre-warp races, right?
Right.
So implying that do the Baul have warp? Maybe
I think
not.
So. Yeah.
I don't know, because then otherwise, right? Why wouldn't they have contact with the Baul's planet?
She knows everything about the Baul and the Kelpians.
Okay, and then the Baul have just been keeping the Kelpians in a...
possibly the Baul don't have warp. That maybe is not addressed, but she definitely knows the
She knew the situation.
She knew the situation of the Kelpians and the Baul, right?
And then, so then I'm like, well, where is all of Starfleet's first contact stuff and the prime directive and all these things? And she's like, I had to convince them to ignore all that stuff so that we can take just you because you're some exceptional genius. Which, I mean, based on his ability to build the thing out of that thing, probably is true.
Right.
But also, I don't think Starfleet makes exceptions to those rules, or they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Odd, right? Odd explanation for saying Saru's the only Kelpian.
Right. And so I took this whole, at the end of this, right? It's it's tragic. He has to leave his family and his way of life behind, and he can never come back. Right? She says that.
Yeah, interesting, right?
And so, like, this whole thing is their explanation for why you've never seen Saru or his species before.
I think,
and it's like,
given what happens to the Kelpians, one could see somebody making the argument and saying, okay, well, normally the Prime Directive would say we would leave this person alone to help develop his society, but in the next year or so, he's going to be culled or harvested, and it's not going to affect his society. Mm. So would Starfleet stand to benefit from integrating a Kelpian into their culture instead of wasting him if he has this ability to understand stuff way beyond himself? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I hadn't thought about it that way, and you're right. That's like a pretty decent argument.
It's an argument. I don't know that
at least
it's a decent argument.
Well,
it's an argument
it's decent in the scope of this.
Yeah, it's an argument akin to what they would make maybe in TNG.
This is a argument that they could make in a thing that took about 15.
Yep, we've talked about it about as long as the show went on. So
exactly. So
I think this was the most needed of the three, of the four.
Of the four, I agree with you. I think here that this one is the one that Saru as a character, you get little hints and bits of his culture or whatever, but you definitely needed a little more characterization of him.
It changes him from being an annoying coward into, okay, of all the people in his society, right? Like he said, I felt fear and hope, and I walked towards hope.
Right. And it gives him, it makes the entire adventure for him seem like a brave step rather than
being an abject coward all the time.
Which is how you encounter him, right? So, yeah.
Needed for developing his character for season 2, I think.
Yeah, and pretty fun to watch.
Harry Mudd.
The Escape Artist.
The best opening of these 4 episodes.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about it, but they created a short version of the Discovery opening, which they then tacked on some extra music and funk to for Harry Mudd's episode here.
Mm-hmm. This entire episode is completely ephemeral, but very fun.
Yes, and changed my opinion of Harry Mudd to from before he was lip service to the original Star Trek, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
We have to have this character to tie this into the timeline, and this character was kind of ephemeral before, so let's use him now. Now he's kind of like, okay, he's probably back for season 2 if he's in this, and they're starting to like remind you that he's a character. Like not a character, but a character. You know what I mean?
I don't know that he's going to pop up again in season 2, but I definitely think that this was like, hey, we're already paying Rainn Wilson. Is that the guy's name?
Yes, Rainn Wilson. Yeah, he directed this too.
We are already paying him to be a part of this show. What if we just like give him a thing and just let him go have fun?
Yep.
and he's like, all right, I'm going to be 15 parts in this same episode and I'm going to direct. And they're like, yeah, all right, whatever. Sure. Go for it, I guess.
I cannot believe that they didn't at least rein in one idea here.
What are we here to murder accuracy, Andrew?
Okay. All right. Yes, we are.
It's so good. I laughed many times during this one.
Yeah.
As a person a noted hater of this character in season 1, the discussions, go back and listen to them. I was not super interested in Harry Mudd's character. This was very fun.
I told you this was the fun one. There was a little preview of this on our main pod 2 days ago, and I said, you may not like him by the end of this, but I certainly do.
I still don't know that I like his character, but I very much enjoyed watching this.
I did not think you would change your mind much, but I knew you would enjoy this, at least.
I really enjoyed watching Rainn Wilson chew the scenery with himself.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Yeah.
And so, I mean, the quick story, this guy... I
don't remember his race, but he's got tusks.
Don't remember his race. Yeah, he's got tusks. And he has captured Harry Mudd, and he's...
No. He paid a bounty hunter for Harry Mudd.
Right. And is going to now go turn Harry Mudd into the Federation for the reward. And
in revenge for
what Mud did to his sister and an item he stole from him.
Yes.
And so most of the episode is Mud trying to sweet talk his way into this guy's good graces, with a bunch of weird anecdotes and flashback scenes to other times Mud tried to charm other people when it generally didn't work.
So good. That part is so good, where he's like, with the guy keeps telling him like, this line can't possibly have worked on anyone, and then it keeps flashing back to a time it fails epically.
Yeah, and it's like, he's like, there's no way anyone would work, right? And he's like, he's being led on a chain by a Klingon bounty hunter, and he's like, well, maybe if you were a little taller, you'd be able to find your ship. She's like, I'm not lost. Definitely was lost. It was good, and very silly. And then the piece de resistance at the end.
The bounty hunter finally makes it to...
And Mud, meanwhile, it's like, please, no, like, don't turn me in or whatever.
Makes
I'll
it to
do
a Federation
anything.
ship.
And the guy's like, oh, good. You have Harry Mudd. Great. We'll come on in. We'll take him from you. And then he comes in and he's like, yeah, where's my bounty? How do I get this money, you know? And the guy's like, yeah, no, this is an android. And sorry, you got swindled by this other.
Let me guess, you bought this from a woman.
Yeah. And he's like, no, that can't be true. Watch. And he like yanks his arm off, and yeah, he's totally an android.
What was the line? I'd be sitting on a beach sipping
kippers or something like that.
Yeah, sipping kippers or something.
And then you know, he
says the line, and then all the androids,
all the robots,
go into like this feedback loop of saying it.
So like the Starfleet guy leads him to this area. The door opens, and there's like 10 other Mud androids in here, all talking to each other and all trying to like tell stories and like just be like.
They're
ridiculous.
all Harry Mudding each other, right? Like they're trying to out Harry Mudd themselves because they're androids. Maybe, but I would call them more like facsimiles, right? They're not
right.
They're not data androids.
Right. The guy says that they have like a small layer of human skin on the outside to like show up as real, but they're just robots.
Yeah.
Built to distract you.
Yeah.
And so all the robots are all dressed differently. One's in like a pirate uniform, and one's wearing a captain's hat and all this other stuff. And then, you know, they're all just like talking to each other and telling stories. And then the guy says the line about be on the beach drinking kippers. And then they all start saying
feedback loop. So good.
It's very, very funny. And then the end scene smash cut to a ship full of Harry Mudd androids and the woman bounty hunter.
Who is Harry Mudd?
Takes her mask off to reveal that she is Harry Mudd. And he then sits back in his captain's chair and drinks a kipper, which is some kind of weird space drink.
I know we don't like to there's no point in destroying accuracy here because, you know, data, androids, people.
Oh, no, that was a line from earlier, right?
Yeah, but when we talk about it, right, like you could be like, wait, but everyone's fascinated by Data because he's an android, but
obviously these were like,
these were not quite androids and all. But one thing I did want to discuss outside of this that we've seen in Discovery and we see in this that is in direct contradiction with one of the maybe most memorable scenes of First Contact, when Picard is talking to, what's her name? The woman in First Contact that he takes through the ship with him.
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember her name.
Yeah. About society in the future and how they have no money anymore because everyone's willing to work for the benefit of each other.
Right.
Which, if you think about it, is not like that's not even socialism, right? Because
it's utopian.
It's utopian society because even in socialism, you need some sort of currency in order to exchange for non-essential goods, right? Like, you would need a way to buy art and music, and
you don't need to buy anything. It's socialism. I don't know. There's a whole lot of like. It depends what you mean by socialism versus communism versus
communism. In theory, the death of art and stuff like that could happen. But so let's back up and say it's utopian, right? Because you have artists and all these sorts of things. What he describes in First Contact. in Discovery and Harry Mudd here, they describe the Federation as having money.
And, it's clear that money still exists and people have it somehow, because also in DS9 there is money.
Yeah.
On the station, and
so they just quietly
Starfleet guys in that bar paying money to Quark for those drinks. So
have they just quietly abandoned this idea of no money utopia, or I don't understand.
I mean, maybe they have, and it's just people in the Federation help each other for free, but to deal with outside races, you have to have money or something. I don't know.
The Federation trades for money, and then captains can mete it out when people need it. I don't quite get. Someone needs to explain how we've abandoned this next generation idea.
Teach me the economy of the future, okay?
Come on.
I need a class.
Yeah.
In economics here.
I would love.
I mean, I suspect what's happening here is that they had this idea when they came up with the show, right, in TNG, and they're like, oh, we can make this, because they never really talk about money in the original series that I recall, though I haven't seen all of it, so I can't say for sure, but it's definitely very, they're not talking about money there. TNG, they, pretty much explicitly say, we don't have money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in DS9, they're like, yeah, actually, there is money, though. And now it's kind of remember DS9, there's money, we got that, that's a thing, yeah, whatever. And it's kind of just a gentle retcon, or a way for them to tell stories about things that involve payments and stuff without having to stretch really hard to figure out how to handle money in a society that doesn't have money. I don't know. I don't want to rip too hard on this episode, because this episode was a lot of fun. So
yeah. The Enterprise I was thinking of earlier is called the Enterprise J, which is a universe class, aka it's a giant moving planet. And you see it in the 26th century, so that's not even close to 1,000 years in the future.
That's more.
No, that's 26th century would only be 400 years in the future. Right? Because that'd be 27 something.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
what is
captained by a Dax, by the way.
Cool. What show was this that this showed up in?
Showed up in this is actual research that we're doing. I think it's on Enterprise J is title Yesterday's Enterprise in the blah blah blah.
I have no recognition of this.
I don't remember, but I've seen it.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah. Enterprise.
Okay.
Enterprise episode Azadi Prime.
Got it. Okay.
It would make sense as part of the temporal war, right?
Yeah. Enterprise is the show that I definitely have seen the least times. So for sure, that's going to be the gap. If there's a gap in my memory, it's definitely going to be there.
All right. How do we feel about these 4 episodes?
It was fun. I had a good time.
I had a good time too. I don't know that they definitely used the word earlier that's ephemeral, except for the Saru one, which adds character depth. They are ephemeral.
Right. And I think the Saru one is, if any of these ever get a reference in the main story, it would only be the Saru one.
It has to be, right? Again, we don't do spoiler research. We don't look stuff up. So,
and again,
don't tell us if we're wrong.
And that's only if, that maybe they don't, and this is just a, hey, for your information going on with Saru, and then they just,
I really feel like this should, I don't know if saying it should be on the show is fair, but I did not know he was the only Kelpian in Starfleet for sure until this happened.
Totally. And I agree that that one, the Saru one in particular, I don't know how you could have told it as part of the regular season, but it would have helped the characterization of that character and made me dislike him a lot less.
I definitely thought about it, and I thought a whole episode of this would have been hard to watch.
Too much, right? Yeah.
So it was maybe right to do it as a short thing or find a way to work it into the show as this short of a thing, but definitely did not need to be longer than this.
Right. For sure, it was all of these are the correct length. I don't think I wanted more of any of them. More of Harry Mudd would have just really been too much.
Yep.
There's already quite enough of him. I really want to know how many times did they have to reshoot the same scene with Rainn Wilson standing in a different place talking to other versions of himself? How many shots does that take? They composite it, right? Is that how that stuff is done?
Yeah, so each scene like that will have a marked out stand-in for him, right?
Right.
So he can
act. So he knows where to look and where to
look,
talk to or whatever.
Yeah, and they might even just be simple things like a pole, not even a person.
Yeah. Right, he doesn't need to be a person. You can put a tennis ball there or whatever.
Yeah. And then you just reshoot it green screen after you do your base plate. So one of the characters does that, and then you recreate the distances between the tennis balls on a green screen and shoot the rest of them.
Huh. Interesting.
So count the amount of Mudds there are, add 2 or 3 takes for each one. Maybe not even that many because it's Rainn Wilson directing himself.
Oh, yeah, sure. He's probably just like, I got that one. I'm good.
Yeah.
Anyway, the composition stuff there was fun, and that whole scene was very fun.
Very good.
And the scene in the ship as well, also fun. Best
use, I think, of this format, maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was the most fun of these 4, and like easily like the most lighthearted, and like we said, like didn't mean anything, but was like again like a fun glimpse into something else going on in that universe.
I like the format. They need to be a little more focused on something fun and enjoyable, I think, because the Tilly one in my mind stands out as I really just did not need to watch that.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like the character or the character building, but like I got the point about her character being we've already been through that arc with her character, right? Through the course of season 1 of Discovery, she went from the beginning of that short trek to the end of that short trek already.
Right. I was going to say the Tilly one, in terms of the characterization, felt a little redundant. Because like you said, we'd already gotten some of that arc.
Yeah.
I wonder if perhaps some of these were shot mid-season.
I can't imagine that they were. They're far too disjointed from anything else.
Meh.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. These were fun. Yeah. I enjoyed watching them. I think it was worth watching them in between the 2 seasons. I don't think people should skip them.
Right.
Especially like if you're like us and big fans of Star Trek in general.
I think if you watched Discovery, you need to watch the Saru one. And if you're going to watch the Saru one, you might as well watch the Harry Mudd one. The other 2 have no bearing on the show, probably.
You know what? At the point that you're going to watch those 2, you might
as well spend the extra 30 minutes.
Yeah, because they're only 15 minutes each. Like I literally watched 3 of these in a day. And it was like not even the length of an episode of long TV.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was going to watch them all in one night. Mm-hmm. I watched the first 2 and I was like, all right, those were okay. And assuming that the other 2 had no bearing on the show, I kind of relaxed too much while watching them. And then we got to Saru, and it starts off as a very slow, methodical Saru kind of, everyone's got that soothing tone, and I fell asleep twice trying to watch it. And then I was like, I can't watch this tonight. I have to actually stay awake and like think about it. So I watched it the next night. I was like, oh, I'm really glad that I didn't try to push through that one last night.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that one for sure.
Yeah. All right. Man, next month we'll do another one of these. I'm not quite certain what we're going to do it on. It's going to be a surprise, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're starting season 2 of Discovery before Picard comes out. Or what do you want to do?
Well, so that's the thing, right? Like if Picard starts in January and it is, as of this recording, it is the middle of November.
Are we going to live do Picards?
So that's the question, right? Because the Picards are probably going to come out weekly.
Yeah.
And then are we going to try and keep up weekly with them? I don't
think we can keep up weekly with them. We could do a monthly
These come
recap?
out monthly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I think the next one's a surprise, and maybe even January is a surprise.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out.
But
Trust
there will be episodes between now and Picard. Don't worry. We'll find something to fill the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And until then, live long and prosper. Right? Where would people, if you have comments on these short treks, where should you?
Well, you can definitely let us know about these ones. Don't tell us about the other ones that are coming out or have already just come out.
We know there's a Tribble one. We don't want to ruin the characters that are in those, because like these, it'll be based on stuff we've seen. We haven't seen in season 2, so
right. So I'm sure that we know they're still making them. Please don't tell us about them. However, if you want to talk about these 4 with us, you can send an email to podcast@wewergamers.com, and we will absolutely read it and be interested in talking about it if you're interested in saying stuff.
Yeah, thank you for your emails and feedback on we've gotten some feedback on these episodes, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, you can find us on YouTube. If you search for We Were Gamers on there, and follow the channel on there, and you can get this very podcast there. There's even a playlist of the Star Trek ones separate from the regular ones, which is helpful.
If that's your deal,
yeah,
that's the way to do it, because we mix the feeds. It makes it easier for a lot of people, because, in general, I think a lot of gamers like Star Trek, and a lot of our audience is, we grew up watching Star Trek, so it's more of a...
Like, we obviously like it, right?
Yeah, so we can mix the feed here, but if you really just want the Star Trek stuff, that's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, easy to separate it out that way. And of course, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and all the various
places. Are we on
That
Stitcher?
you can get. I think we are. I think that's true. We are on Stitcher.
I know people still use that, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. We're not on Spotify. I've tried.
What happened there? I don't know that we need to talk about it now.
There's nothing to tell.
Confirmed we're on Stitcher.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was pretty sure we are. So.
Speaking of which, our last episode was called There Are 4 Maps.
Good reference right there.
All right.
Mwah.
We'll see you next month for more Star Trek.